Is the World Cup really affecting home prices in Ventura? We're 6 months in to 2026 sales, and we've got data which is going to shock you. Some of the biggest deals that happened just this last month would surprise you. Are we getting multiple offers? Is the standing time of properties going up, days on the market? Or are we seeing a big shift and a change? We actually are seeing a change right now, and it's probably not what you think. If you've been following these monthly market updates, you'll know where the trends are, where our hot points are, what price points are new, and where things are going. My name is Jeff Belzer, and we are going to get into it right now. Yes, it really is. In one of three ways at least. So, to say the least, what's great about the World Cup is the whole world is coming here, they're having positive experiences, and they're sharing those posts online, which is awesome. Another thing that's happening is that people are traveling. They're going around, they're going to other states, they're going to other cities, and they're catching some of these games. Another thing that's happening is that people are going to watch parties either at restaurants and bars or downtowns, like Ventura was having a big screen downtown. So what happens is people are experiencing towns, they're getting exuberant about it, and they could consider maybe making a move because of those experiences. But the downside is that the open houses are a little slimmer this year. There's not as many people going to the opens, which would lead you to believe one thing, but what's actually happening is something different. And that's what the data tells us. And we're going to get into that right now. So, one of the things that I talked about earlier when I talked about all of these market update videos is price points. It's not just what neighborhood are you looking at, what neighborhood do you live in, and looking at the comps there, but looking at what a shopper or a consumer is going to look at when they're going to buy. So Ventura historically tends to be a thin inventory market anyway. So in times like this or times of the past, we have only a 2 or 3 month supply of inventory. It's shallow anyways. If it gets any shallower than that, it really benefits the seller. And one of the biggest complaints that locals have is the affordability crisis. We aren't in a housing crisis where we're going to be crashing, even though prices are coming down a little bit, 5 or 10% off the highs. We've seen that. But what's happening is when you take it down, you drop a property's price by 25 or 50,000, if it's between 8 and 1.2, and that's literally where it's supposed to be, it's within range of the quality of that home, it sells. So what's consistent, our strongest price points is the 8 to 900,000 and the 9 to 1 million. That could be grouped in to an area, but they're a little bit distinctly different. I feel at about 9 or 925, you really start to get a quality of product, Midtown, East End, or West, that has good finishes, a quality property that you feel good about moving into. Now, how does that affect the $500,000 market? Well, here's something new. We used to have a $500,000 minimum a year and a half ago. Now we've got about 20 properties that have sold this year under 500. There's a new category. There's the 4 to 500. So for first-time home buyers, someone wanting to purchase a $500,000 property, that's actually one of the toughest markets. Even though 5 to 6 is pretty full and 4 to 5 is filling up, what's so tough about that market is you've got people that are literally, that's the one where people are going from renting to buying. It's a lot harder to go from renting to buying into the 8, 9, or the 9 million. That's the category where you start to really get something quality. You're like, if I'm going to reach, I'm going to pay above rental prices, then I'm going to get something quality that I live in. Now, in the 4 to 5 or 5 to 6, they're not super high quality. They're in specific neighborhoods of Ventura that aren't necessarily undesirable, but they're high density. And if you're paying double what you or triple what you would in rent, you might want to just keep renting. And that's how a lot of people feel. But that's a trap. If you really are in that category, and I don't want to be a hard salesperson like in this category, this is not the category. that I work a ton. I'll do it here, and I understand it, and it's a stepping stone. But I'm not trying to convince someone to go buy right there. What I'm trying to say is that that might be your opportunity. And if you pass on that opportunity to get a stepping stone to then move up to the 6, 7, or the 8, 9 category where you really get that quality single family house, which is what you want. If you're too good to take that step, you might not ever get it. So that's just the reality check. And if you're there, then that's for you. Take with it what you will. You can call me, you can call someone else. But if you're actually able to save money, have a down payment, and you can get in and own something, own a condo, own a townhome. Start with a chip or a stepping stone that you can move into, your dream home or something more of a forever home. Because if you don't take that step, you'll never have the equity. And here's why. What kind of market are we in? I hear that all the time. We are in a trader's market. The reason we're not crashing is because everybody has equity. And the only people moving or buying are the people that are selling. So we have a lot of move-up buyers right now, especially those ones who bought the $5, $6, or $700,000 condo, and they're moving into that 8, 9, or the 9, 1 single-family home market. Then you have the 1 to 1, 2, which is still pretty full. It's part of that middle. That 8 to 1, 2 is a very strong price point in Ventura. We're starting to get a lot of cream on the crop. That 1.2 to 1.3 is filling up because we're getting that dead zone between the 2 million. My dead zone is 1.5 to 2 million. Well, in March, a lot of escrows and actives came down. So you basically had people that were sellers reaching for the 1.8 or 2 million. They moved down to the 1.5, 1.6 category. Had a lot of sales for 1.5 and 1.6, and even a few more in the 1.3 category. And what was really cool about that is that if you're at that upper middle, you're getting a lot for your dollar. That's a really special price point to be at 1.2 to 1.3. If you're able to afford that, you're gonna get something really quality home. We're talking middle, not luxury, not 2 million on the hill with the views, but potentially you can have views. You can have really nice finishes, plastered walls, renovated kitchens, modern floors throughout, really decadent in good neighborhoods. So that leaves us with the luxury market. What's going on with the luxury market? Some agents in our office were just having a heyday in the spring, getting multiple listings, multiple escrows, and it was pretty awesome to see some of these properties and what they were able to do with them, moving people from one to the other. At traders market, so literally someone living on Pierpont Beach, selling their home and moving to the Keys, moving from one property in the Keys to another property in the Keys. And that's what kind of market we're in. We're in this local market, hybrid local market. Locals think it's people coming from LA. No, it's not. Some people are, but the ones that are, they've already lived here, they have family here, they've been here, they've experienced, they know Ventura. People don't just buy Ventura. I see people come through all the time. People don't just buy Ventura like randomly. They have to know it, they have to be part of the community, they have to get it and understand it. But most of our buyers right now are local buyers that are trading. So we have baby boom and silent generation wanting to sell the 2 million and up, or 1.5 or even a million. We've got people that want to sell right around 9 or a million and move down to that 5. So that 5 is a strong market, especially when it's the senior mobile home parks or neighborhoods that have become like senior parks. So we recently had a video about Stonehenge. Like, that's turning into like a retirement community. They're perfect, made for family homes, but because they're all single level and they're so well constructed and you do pretty renovations on them, they look beautiful. And it's like a community where people know each other, people know their neighbors. It feels really safe. It's got this great feeling of safety. It's a little further east without being all the way out in Saticoy. It's off Kimball, so that you really don't have a transient issue there like you might in Midtown. Midtown's kind of like the hotter neighborhood with homes that are 50 or 60 years older than those that need more in renovation, cost more to own, cost more to buy. Stonehenge is hot. Okay, so that's hot for your move down buyers, or sometimes even moving up, but moving into retirement. So that's what's happening with that community. Communities like that. What we're also seeing is that the people selling that have that 2 million, 2.5 or $3 million property wanting to move down, pretty quiet right there. So while in March and the spring there was some activity, those people were mostly trading places. Check a look at the numbers. If our middle market's 8 to 1 2 and someone's selling a property in that middle market, how are they going to jump up to 2.5 or 3? Double that. They'd have to have almost all equity, and then they'd have to have a really high income. And we don't have a lot of middle market owners moving up that high. Those are likely going to be some that come in from out of town. So when that inventory saturates, which it did last year, but this year it's not even that thick in that price point, what we're actually seeing is we've seen more people pull off or just not go onto the market because they see the reality. Something needs to shift where the market needs to kind of, larger economy needs to kind of froth up, but this fear of what's going on, Strait of Hormuz, fear of inflation, there's kind of this holdback. So until we get into an exuberance, which we will at some point in time, people are going to be going after those luxury properties like crazy because they will have moved between 2 and 3, and which isn't so far off for people that have that type of money. So when you're talking about the luxury market, a lot of times people will be buying cash and mostly cash. So right now for sellers, that's a tough place to be, but we have people moving down from that price point into the 8 to 1 2, and then we have people moving up. So very thick, very frothy right here. Down at 5, there's a little bit of a dead zone between 6 and 8. So we talk about the $800,000 price point. That's a spot where you actually have, how can I say this? You actually have not as high of a quality. It still needs fixes. So sometimes if you're buying just below 8 or around 8, it's not that the agent, I saw this comedian saying, oh, the agent would always point out everything wrong. It's like, no, the agent's building value in their services and telling you these are hard costs. You can't just overlook these things. They don't want to sell your house in a year or two later and be like, it's falling apart. No, it's falling apart the whole time. So if you understand that a property in those conditions that need everything, it's $150,000, $200,000 renovation. So if you're buying at $750,000, you're buying at $9 anyways. So really $900,000 is kind of the marker, $925,000 for something quality that has had the renovations, that has been fixed up. Which brings me to a good point. A lot of people who have bought, maybe they bought at a good price, they bought at $700,000. If you over improve a property and you buy it $700,000 in maybe say a peak $1 million 1-1 neighborhood, you're not selling for 1.4 or 1.5. Even if you put $300K plus into it, it's just not. You're going to be weighted down by the other properties in the neighborhood, price per square foot, even though yours is of the highest quality and on another level, you're just not going to get a return. So a lot of times when people get the properties, they want to do it to perfection. They want to do it to this high level and standard, and you should do it to a degree. But there's some things you need to pull back from and not go overboard, because if you over improve a property in a neighborhood, that won't net you that, and you're not going to keep it for a long, long time. And you have to think about that. You might change your mind in 4 or 5 years. You buy a property, you get into it, but if you change there's highly likelihood that in 5 to 7 years you're going to move. You need to know that with your loan. You need to know that with how you spend your money on your property. Let's see, let's get it. Oh yeah, before I forget the goodies, what was it that happened in Midtown, semi-West End, but really Midtown, downtown area? What we saw is we saw properties that were priced a little bit below go berserk with people going to opens. You think people weren't going to opens because of the World Cup? Oh, they were going. Yeah, people were going Friday open, Saturday open, Sunday open, and a property's priced well and it's desirable in one of these neighborhoods like Midtown, downtown, Stonehenge, even the beach. It gets competitive, multiple offers. So we're actually in a market where prices could be slipping off a little bit, But there's so much demand out there for the asset, for the house, that people compete. What's really so much different now than the pandemic is that there's not a lot of people really being ridiculous, because I think it took that pandemic environment to get people to be ridiculous, or they're giving the seller everything they wanted, or they're competing as high. Escalation clauses I'm seeing all the time. I hardly ever saw them, hardly ever used them, but it actually makes sense. I don't want to have to pay any higher than I need to. I'm going to put this in here, show value. Whereas before in the last ones, you wouldn't do that. You would just put the highest number that you could and pray that you'd get it. And that's back when the inventory was like 50 properties. Right now, let's go into some numbers. We've been hovering at about 180 actives pretty consistently the last 3 months. And we had 89 in escrow in May, and then in June it came down to 81. 61 closings in May, and then June was 81. And we've been about between those numbers ever since March. February was a little bit where things were getting into escrow. We had activity in that sense. But now we've really established that the inventory is coming down. This 163, we were at 210 last year. So if you've made it to this part of the video, and we were at 210 last year at this time consistently for 3 or 4 months, now we're down to 163. A big part of that was because the luxury market, they pulled off, and they aren't flooding in either. They're watching their listings, they're watching the huge price cuts that they're taking. They're just like, you know what? I'll wait another 2 or 3 years, which will likely be more than the number that they want anyways. We're probably going to have a bounce, and it feels like we're having, at least in this next 2 to 3 months, like we're in a bounce right now. This thin inventory, a property had gone under escrow and came back on. Somebody comes back on, usually, okay, there's something wrong with it. We're going to come to a lower price. There's more activity on the back on the market than there was on the listing launch. Sounds kind of backwards, right? But when the market goes thinner, and you have less choices, less opportunity, people feel like they missed it. Oh, I got a second chance, I'm going after it. So we start to see things like that. So that's the special stuff, is those 3 properties downtown went multiple offers over asking. Also had one on the west end that went multiples slightly over asking, but not as high as the push, because we don't want to see things compete too high where they end up falling out anyways. And here's the special. If you're staying to the end, if you know me, you know I like the west end. It's not the only area I work. I work the whole county. It's too far out. You know, West Hill's probably not going out there. But if you like the west end, we've got some of the most incredible properties are going to come up within the next 3 to 4 weeks. If you made it this far, shoot me a DM, reach out. We've got a 5-bedroom, 3-bath, fully renovated, first-time home contractor, so not a flip, but a quality renovation for resale. It's really going to be a fun story. I can't wait to shoot it. Can't wait to make a video like this about it. And then there's going to be another one on the iconic Center Street that has had a 1.33 and a 1,050,000 on it. It's got a couple fixers right now. There's fixers if you guys want to know value of fixers. They're there because when these ones hit, it's going to show a whole new margin. Instead of it being, 5, 6, 7 to 8, 9, a million, it's going to be 7 to 8 on the fixie side to 1, 2 to 1, 3. So while it feels like the market's going like this, at the same time, the quality properties are going up. And that has a lot to do with inflation price of labor, goods. So when they're done and they're finished and that's the price, that's the price. And the market will pay it. They're happy to pay it and have a finished home. So you guys, thanks so much for watching. Don't let me forget about this. We're doing a West Side giveaway. So this is backpacks. I'll just read it off for you guys. Backpacks, new shoes, school supplies, and a haircut. Haircut, fresh back, and some kicks. Make those kids feel good. So even if you're not buying a house, if you guys want to be involved, let me push it up here. You can QR code that with Sotheby's. Maybe because of the flip camera, it might be reading backwards, but QR code should work. And if it doesn't, just shoot me a text and We'll get you info where you can give back. You can donate or give shoes or a backpack. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching, and stay tuned for the next video because we're going to follow up in less than a week with the whole June, January to June, at this half a year mark, and really predict what we're going to see. Right now, what it feels like is that we might be getting out of seasonality, and it feels like what we should see in the fall might not happen because if this inventory thins out, I think the fall is going to be really competitive with people that want to move and want to buy, and they're going to push prices back up. So we're actually seeing that rebound. We're actually seeing that bounce because inventory is down. So a lot of those other sellers are like, oh, we're not going to get our price, whatever. You got to pay attention to what trends happening because this actually might be a good time to put the house on the market.